You know how people have big book fear? I have the opposite. I have short book fear. I think it's because I like things to last longer and I just don't want things to be short or brief, which could be the reason why I don't watch movies that often. If you think about it, an 800-page book for 300 rupees kind of feels like a better deal in my opinion instead of having a 200-page book for 300 rupees. Seems a bit expensive to me, but okay, I'll stop being weird. So I had this idea. What if I read short books for 24 hours, not the next 24 hours, because my sleeping schedule is very bad. I literally slept around 3 a.m. today, and then I woke up around 8. I don't think that's really good sleeping schedule. But I'm curious how many books I can read within the 24 hours. And I have like 100 plus books in my physical TBR. So I think this will allow me to read more and not just read more, read the books that I have been avoiding for so long and also lessen my physical TBR. So let's talk about the books that I want to read. Where are they? Like I have some in front of me. I'll start with this one. The first one is Orbital. After finishing Project Hail Mary, I think this is a perfect read, and it's like 100 some pages long. And I believe this is a book about individuals who have gone outside on this space mission or duty. Basically, they're doing certain jobs and they look at the Earth while they are orbiting around it, I think. So that's the first book. Then I have To a God Unknown by John Steinbeck. I'm very excited about this book because I love East of Eden, and I found this book randomly at the bookstore, which is near my place, and it's actually a secondhand copy. If you like start reading this book is almost like falling apart. I need to, oh my god, no, I need to use shit. Yeah, this book is falling apart already. But before the first chapter, there's a mention of To a God Unknown, and it is from the Vedas. Very interesting. I think I'm going to love this book. But yeah, I need to fix this book because it's falling apart and I think I need to use tape around the edges. Okay, I'll keep it over here. Should I keep it over here? Yeah. I have Animal Farm. You may see like tabs around these pages because I have tried reading these books before, but then I just never finished them. So, George Orwell's Animal Farm. Then I have Silas Marner by George Eliot. This is the first George Eliot book I got, and it has been on my physical TBR for a very long time. This is about Silas Marner. He's a tragic figure who is exiled from a religious community because of a wrongful accusation of theft. He works from day to day as a weaver, hoarding his money and living a lonely life as a recluse. It is only when his money is stolen and a small orphan girl, Epi, appears that Silas' fortunes start to change and he truly begins to regain his faith in life. I am so excited to read this book. I can't kid you. Like, I love these kind of stories so much. I'm so excited. And then I have Brave New World. By the way, some of these books are more than 200 pages. I'll go with books which are under 300 pages or a little bit over 300 pages as short books. No, let's go under 300 pages as short books. Oh my god, this I have had this book for such a long time that it doesn't make sense why I still haven't read it, which is why I'm doing this challenge, right? On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous, and I have tried reading it before and I don't know why I just couldn't finish it, but I will in this challenge. Then I can't even hold it. Outsider by Alba Camus, and again, I have tried reading this book before, but then I just never finished it. By the way, this is a pirated copy, and I didn't know better when I first got it, so kind of disappointing, but I have what I have. And the next one I have is The Snows of Kilimanjaro and Other Stories. So these are 10 short stories by Ernest Hemingway, and it's very short. I recently got it from this book cafe store near my place, and they had this book, and I had to get it. For how much did I get this book for? I got it for like 100 rupees. And then I believe this is last but not the least. I do have some more optional books that I can add, but that would be the case if I manage to finish these books before like the 24 hours end. So the next book I have is The Trial, and it's kind of embarrassing to admit that I have been wanting to read Kafka, but I haven't read him yet. So this is going to be my first book by him, and I'm very excited. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. So wait. These are all the books that I'm planning to read for this 24 hours readathon. I like this. This could be like my thumbnail. Or maybe let me like get some thumbnail. I need like a faceless. Okay. I'm done doing the photo shoot. And I'll give you updates whenever I finish something. At the moment, I'm thinking of starting with the audiobook of, what do you call it, Orbital, because I have a lot of house chores to do right now, and audiobooks are here to save my life. I absolutely love audiobooks. But yeah, I'll talk to you later.
This is Audible.
I have been reading for 3 hours and 18 minutes, and I finished Orbital. I didn't really like it. The writing seemed so forced. On the surface, it seems beautiful, but as you keep on going with it, it just seems so forced. And I'm not saying this from a perspective of a professional or something like that. I'm just saying it by intuition. And I guess sometimes you can tell by intuition itself how the writing is and how forced it feels. I don't know when this book was written. Yeah, so it was written in 2024. So it's a recent book, and the writing was not great, in my opinion. So it's basically about six astronauts who rotate in their spacecraft above the Earth. They're there to collect data and conduct scientific experiments, but mostly they observe. And together they watch our planet, which is endlessly showing the spectacular beauty. And in this premise, we talk about human relationships, the relationship we have with our planet, and all these things. And we also like add a little bit of history in it. It's a very bite-sized history, and I can understand the intentions of the book and what it's trying to do, but I just didn't like its execution. Why do we not have quotation marks for the dialogues? I can understand that Sally Rooney is the fashion, but I don't care. Use proper punctuation. And I'm not even an English speaker. English is my fourth language. So if someone is complaining about that, and that's one of the reasons why I felt like this book was just kind of trying to be forcefully beautiful the way it was written. And I felt the same way with Invisible Life of Addie LaRue too. Like the writing was trying so hard to be this beautiful, lyrical, and you can just tell as a reader. Anyway, so next book I'm thinking of picking up is Silas Marner. I think that's how we pronounce it. I'm very bad with pronouncing things, so I'm very excited to start this one. And I found its audiobook available, which is, by the way, classics have audiobooks which are available for free, which is Chef's Kiss. I'm going to have my tea, and then my dad is bringing some food from outside. I didn't decide to cook today. I'm very tired. Yeah, I think that's the update for now, and I'll give you more as I keep reading this one.
मेरे पिल्लों के ऊपर सो रहा है क्या हुआ इसे क्यों देख रहा है
It's currently 9 a.m. and I'm planning to go for a movie. So I'm just wondering if I should wear this or like, is it too much? I got the skirt and the shirt thrifted recently. I don't know, like, how do you feel? You like this? I don't know. Usually I don't go for any like new kind of styles, so I have an idea. Hmm. I need to like clean my bed and all that stuff, but can you like see the whole outfit? Anyways, I'm having my morning coffee. Okay, fun fact. It's not fun, but like I actually have a hole over here. I will book my tickets when I reach the movie theater. So I'm planning to watch Dhurandhar 2. I delayed watching it, decided to watch it late because it was very hyped up and I wanted to avoid crowd. So Amma, koi te? Hello, hello, hello. Ali ali, tuno 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 này. Mama này. Tuno này. Pudu papa. My hair looks like a crazy person. I have been reading for 6 hours and 25 minutes, I think, and I finished my book too, which was Animal Farm by George Orwell, and I had such a great time reading this book. I was enjoying myself analyzing the animal behavior to the. Wait, this sounds so wrong. But I was having a lot of fun analyzing the behaviors of the animals in the farm and comparing with real life. Okay, that sounds a bit better. The whole idea of equality kind of plays a huge role in this book because the animals start with this idea that even in the cover it says all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than the others. And which kind of makes you wonder whether the whole concept of equality is just an easy lie to sell or not. Because the thing is that the idea of equality is used as a slogan a lot, but it's not really practiced because it's very fragile. And what do we really mean by equality to begin with? Because if we're talking about descriptive nature of equality or inequality, here Nietzsche once said that humans are not equal in ability, strength, intelligence, or ambitions too, because we're not the same. We don't think, act the same, and we don't want the same things as well. So, in a descriptive way, we're not equal, but it doesn't mean that, we can't be equal to each other in terms of how we treat each other, which is basically moral or political equality. When we choose to treat each other with dignity and respect, in this book, inequality is justified and the whole idea of equality becomes just a tool for manipulation. And the aspect of history is very interesting too, because I don't think history is in itself fully factual because it's written by the people who have survived it. But this story kind of shows you how easy it is to manipulate others when we stop questioning and we trust blindly. And because here the history is being altered, and when we erase history, we don't have any point of reference. to avoid making bad decisions, or to even argue about what is happening in the current times. It says so much about, how human memory is so fragile that it's so easy to distort truth. I had a great time reading this book. It's short, but it's so sharp, and I really recommend. It's just that it's so much about the human nature that we are talking about, even in politics. So it's something I'm always fascinated by because I'm very much fascinated by human nature. Anyways, that was Animal Farm, book two done, and I have been reading Silas Marner. I'm now on chapter three, especially the way she's writing the psychological insights. It's so beautiful that, it tells you so much. Okay, so we are following a man called Silas Marner who is a weaver in this countryside town. Or is it town? Is it not? I don't know. It's a place called Ravelo. Yeah, and it's in the English countryside. So he has been here for 15 years. So before he came to this agricultural town, he belonged to this religious community where he was accused of a crime that he did not committed, which kind of led to his whole structure of, the way he used to think kind of break down. And when the whole system which has been inbuilt in you breaks down, it's a very devastating feeling to go through. And I'm so impressed by George Eliot's writing here because she's able to describe these smaller things in such a good way. And she adds this point where, as he goes to this new town, he is working a lot, he's weaving a lot, and whatever he's getting back as gold coins or, these money, he adores them a lot. He keeps, thinking about them and he keeps them safe. He doesn't even spend a lot of money. So we can already say that the reason why he's kind of obsessed with these gold coins or these money is not because he's greedy, but because he's trying to find a sense of belonging in a way, or like it's just him kind of defending himself from the isolation that he feels, because these things that he's getting, they're coming from his own efforts, right? The gold, the silver, it's coming from his own efforts. And, these are the only things that won't really betray him. Unlike human beings who are cunning, who can betray your whole sense of, how people should be. Because it may seem like a small thing that, yeah, he was exiled, but this book is able to explore that whole idea that, how he was betrayed and how he felt betrayed by the ethics of the community itself, because he used to believe that justice exists, fairness exists, but then suddenly he's now confronting this idea that wasn't the case at all. So the gold is kind of this protection. Gold is predictable, countable, and also, most interestingly, they're not, morally charged, like, it's neutral, at least at this stage, because he used to believe that, he owning money and having like greed is bad. But again, I don't think it's coming from greed. She actually gives you, certain lines which talks about how does a human being experiences which create cognitive dissonance when we experience something that is absolutely out of the blue, like not out of the blue, but like out of our point of reference. So there's a line which says that strangely, Mana's face and figure shrank and bent themselves into a constant mechanical relation to the objects of his life, so that he produced the same sort of impression as a handle or a crooked tube which has no meaning standing apart. This passage kind of tells us how it's not just his physical body which is becoming rigid, but how his worldview is becoming narrower as he's becoming more rigid to people and to ideas and, to something new that which kind of makes him not change a thing in the 15 years that he has been living. So I'm really excited to just continue with chapter 3, and I'm having a lot of fun with this book, but I'm really tired, so maybe I'll go to bed right now. By the way, I do recommend the Stephen Fry audiobook of Animal Farm. Stephen Fry is such a great audiobook narrator. I love listening to him. Good night. So these red tabs are supposed to be my favorite moments or moments that I like. So there are so many moments that I loved. It's such a good book. I have been reading for 11 hours and 30 some minutes, and I finished reading Silas Marner. I'm not gonna lie, but in the beginning, I was having a difficult time comprehending the English because it was a bit difficult, but then as I read more, I got used to it, and I absolutely loved this book. It was so, so good. The last time I believe I mentioned about how Silas is obsessed with gold, and it's kind of like he has this attachment to it that is coming from, his experience of betrayal and how he isn't able to trust people again. So his gold is stolen, and to seek the gold that was stolen from him, he had to go and talk to the people from the Ravelo town. And one of the most fascinating things is that the people in the Ravelo town are described as these people who are not used to something new. But the thing is that these people are ready to help him out, and instead of apathy, he met with assurances. And even if he was not able to feel it, but the idea that someone is actually able to give you some kind words, I think that's a huge deal in my opinion. Even though they found him a bit weird or even like had certain stereotypes about him, like how he could be a bit devilish or something like that. And later on, as he was in this grief of losing his gold, he was able to meet a child with golden curly hair, and she was an orphan because her mother died at the moment when this girl was able to find herself in Marner's house. And I really loved how Marner, instead of, going over or overthinking about who should take the responsibility of the child because she has no claim to her, instead he took it as a sign from God or, from somewhere that maybe his goal has come back, but in the form of this girl, and he decided to become a father to her. And in that, this book shows the importance of community and, how human companionship bonds are so important because Epi, the young girl, and Mana are not bound by blood, but instead they are bound by this love that they have for each other. And Silas was trying to learn to be a parent. So he was once told that, to take care of the child, you sometimes have to punish them because you're responsible for their moral building too. And he tried once to punish her for doing something naughty, but then Epi just found it funny and he was not ready to punish her physically or verbally. Because of this, Epi grew up with only love and patience from her father. And it's like George Eliot is trying to tell us that children are not shaped by fear or punishment, but by consistent love and attention and patience too, which I believe that is easy to lose because we all are humans. But the idea of parenthood itself is so beautifully shown because when you become a parent, you are able to sacrifice for someone else. And I believe it's the first time that a human being encounters to think of someone else before himself. And eventually, because of Epi, the people in the town started seeing Silas in a different manner because they saw his love and his humanity through her. And I really like this contrast where the previous place that he used to live was supposed to be this morally and spiritually correct place, which completely failed him. But this simple and old fashioned community actually showed him the beauty of connection and how family is not really about blood. It's about love, presence, and the life that you built with someone. And the idea that loving a child can change you, can make you more patient and more selfless and more open to things. And honestly, that really resonated with me because children are not burden, but they are opportunities to become better versions of yourself. And George Eliot's writing was so detailed. She was so good with the psychological observations that I was just not expecting it. It had such good descriptions about the character psychology, and all the characters in this book were very interesting because it gives you such deep insight about the story that she's trying to tell you. So I think that was just fantastic. And I knew that I would love this book, and I'm really glad to be proven right. The next book I'm going to pick up is Outsider. Yesterday I did a poll because I couldn't decide between this one and the other two books. So The Outsider won. But I think I'm going to finish this new anime that I started. It only has like 12 episodes. It's called You and I Are Polar Opposite. And it's so cute. It's so simple and warm, and I really love every character. They're adorable. I'm having such a good time with it. It's making me laugh and it's making me giggle.
अरे
I finished The Outsider and I have been reading for 13 hours and 12 minutes now. Honestly, I almost felt nothing reading this book, which is ironic because that's exactly how the main character is moving through the world that he lives in. And I don't mean that I didn't understand this book, I did. I could see what Camus was trying to do. We have a main character who lives through physical sensation rather than emotional meaning, where he's pretty much indifferent to everything, to social norms, to morality, and even major life events like his mother's death. And his romantic relationship was rooted in biological instinct rather than emotional connection. So, yeah, I understood the philosophy that the idea of absurdism, where, life has no inherent meaning and people are just existing while still trying to find meaning in it. But it doesn't mean that, understanding something and feeling something have to be the same experiences. And it's just that I didn't feel anything. I guess he was able to prove a point through this. So the part I genuinely found interesting was the trial part, where, instead of focusing on the crime itself, people were trying to define the main character. The fact that he didn't cry became more important than the crime itself, which is so interesting because who are we to decide who can, grieve in what ways and, how they can express certain things. But then again, like we do have these expected notions of how people should react in certain situations. And it kind of shows how, oftentimes society expects emotions to be performed in a certain way where it judges people based on those performances and tries to label and define individuals to make them easier to understand. And I also appreciated the ending. I don't want to spoil, but like where he accepted the things which are going to happen and accepted the indifference of the world. And like there's this quiet acknowledgement that the universe doesn't care, so maybe he doesn't have to either. And the reason I could think of why this book didn't land because of who I am as a reader. I'm naturally emotional and optimistic, and I'm drawn to the depth of human experience. And this book is, striping all of that away. The main character is not conflicted, he's not searching or is not overwhelmed. He's just there. This did not felt very profound to me. It just felt empty and, like it just made me disengage, I guess. It kind of made me think about Fyodor Dostoevsky and his approach of dealing with such topics because Dostoevsky's characters are so chaotic and like they feel intensely. They struggle with guilt, morality, and identity, and are emotionally and psychologically layered. I mean, there's more chaos and conflict and depth. So, in contrast, our main character from The Outsider feels like the absence of all that. I can see that Camus was trying to explore meaning by removing emotions. Dostoevsky removes meaning through emotions, and Dostoevsky he explores meaning through emotions. And honestly, I don't think this is a bad book. I understand why it's respected and why people find it profound, but for me, it was just okay, and I understood it. I saw what it was trying to do. I even appreciate certain parts of it. I hope I'm making sense, honestly, because I'm just like going all over the place with this. Yeah, I respect it and I am very much fascinated by it. If anything, this experience kind of made me realize that I want more emotional intensity and psychological depth, characters that make me think and feel at the same time. There was a one moment at least where the main character did felt the need to be understood by other people when he realized that everyone have misunderstood him and how they are misconstructing, is that the correct word? I don't know, his whole character. Who is he as a person? Like these other people are trying to define him. Honestly, whatever actions he have taken in the first part kind of came back to bite his own ass. I guess that's absurdism for you. Anyways, so here I will be concluding the first part of my 24 hours challenge because I have yapped way too much and I used my secondhand iPhone 11 to film and edit, and I don't think it can take more than 40 minutes of video editing because exporting the whole video is kind of a pain in the. But I will definitely continue the challenge. I apologize, but then again, like, I know that I have yapped way too much, which is why the whole length of this video is this long. And I don't really want to trim the yapping because this is a space where I'm able to express myself without trimming down my thoughts or trying to quickly speak to lay out all my thoughts out. So, yeah, I'll see you in the part two, and thank you so much for watching.